Yeah. Now maybe I can find my stream. That's what happens when I'm away from YouTube for a while. So as you can see in the title, I'm still messing with things here. I'm gonna close my window too. As you can see in the title, Savage Theology, it's a play off of Declaration of Independence and how my mother's people were categorized as merciless Indian savages. I know there are a lot of academics and thought influencers that are speaking about that. I'm gonna fire up this thing here. I'm gonna talk about my thoughts when it comes to this very thing. You know, native. Seems like we're kind of flavor of the month again, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna close this window up here. I'm gonna put myself on mute and I will be right back. All right, let's try this again. Um, so hopefully I have my settings right. I noticed that my face is shinier than usual. I'll have to turn down my key lights or something. I don't know. That's a little better. I guess I could just leave it that way. So let's hear. Well, I hope that these will catalog. This is going to be test two, I guess, in a way. I'm going to try to catalog these and then upload videos also. So hopefully I'll have some good compounding effort here and go from there. But yeah, I had a really good meeting last week to finish off the week with a new friend, and it just jarred loose some ideas that I felt like that need to be discussed in every community, but more so within Native circles of influence. I think that there's some things that we'll have to really think through and come up with solutions on how we're going to move forward. I think that we've learned and we've taken the contagion on that academic and book knowledge is all there is, and I don't think so. I just, that I really wish that wasn't in the frame, and I'm gonna work on getting that out of the frame. I actually want to get a couple chairs back there, and I want to have guests, so you're getting a glimpse into some of that, and just exactly what this stream is called. I call it the Savage Theology, podcast. I'm hoping to really have a gentleman that I have learned so much from, Dakota Goodhouse. He's a instructor at a local college here. He's working on a PhD, and it's really his input into my life has really changed my faith. And he's a good friend. And boy, I would love you guys to just listen to some native folks that have really thought about it. And he's an educator, so I think that you could learn from him, even just as much, if not more. So we've had some really good discussions, and I just see him back here with me. One of my first interviews. Maybe it's an ongoing discussion. We're going to be presenting at the United Tribes Technical College's annual Tribal Leadership Summit, and so we're going to be presenting there. We're going to present there about really our journey thus far, things of faith, and see where it goes. How we've navigated the world right now, how we've navigated the world and up to this point. Dakota and I have had a lot of discussions. We have had a lot of discussions on what the old ones and how they navigated the world. They really they walked in this world with a level of respect and humility that is rare, and that needs, in my opinion, needs to be recaptured. We need more of that energy right now in this time of human history. We're talking past one another. We have all these thought influencers out there. But the one thing that I see and that I don't hear, the one thing I see is the lack of true elder native content. Elder native content meaning there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of ambiguity. A lot of times people don't like that. They want to hear such a structured way of thinking. And I think that faith in life and spirituality and quantum physics, when there's wonder, mystery, and awe, it helps us all. That's how I see things. But I hope that's what this podcast comes out to be. This vlog, if you will, is that we have a lot of. I set this up in such a way that we have a lot of conversations in this room, and maybe on site at different locations, right here in this area. Uh, Talking about native thought that a lot of times just gets tokenized. Went to a book. What was it? A book discussion. North Dakota Humanities put it on, and they brought Tommy Orange. He was talking about his book there, and he said something that really caught my attention. He was talking about how, during the Alcatraz occupation, AIM occupied Alcatraz, and they were making some, they're trying to bring awareness to a lot of things. There was a lot of, things that happened there, good and bad. But what he said to the person that was interviewing him was, what happens after these things is there's an uptick in awareness for native things. And so people are wanting to read about native authors, they're wanting to read about native, all things native, whether nonprofits, whatever. What's happening on the reservation now? What's happening with the individuals and tribes that are still here in the continental United States? And so he's like, that's probably, I came on the scene. Tommy's talking, responding to the person that answered the question or asked him the question. So he came in at the right time, and the book took off. I think that time isn't past. I think that, and he highlighted Dakota Access protests that were happening, no DAPL protests that were happening here in North Dakota, and how that got, world attention, really. And what I've seen is a lot of people that are just really interested in all things native right now, and people. We are the flavor of the month. There's no other way. It's just we are the flavor of the month, and I used to. I don't know. I'd say 2016 pipeline protest. Yeah, the past few years I've just been kind of cynical about it, just pessimistic, and just been like, well, I'm not gonna cater to this. I'm not gonna sit here and try to look, and give them their plan. Give these individuals that are looking for this And I thought, no. I mean, he capitalized. He really took good advantage of a moment, and I feel like that's what this could do. Is that within the context of friendships and relationships, I think that's where a lot of good things could happen, and that's what I see with this podcast or this vlog, if you will, is that if we take time to talk with one another and ask each other about things, I think that there's not there's mostly good things that can come through that. So that's what I'd like to do. I'm going to start putting out more content. I had 18 years within the charismatic Pentecostal church. More so, evangelical in leaning, and I learned some things. I was baptized Roman Catholic. I learned Dakota Way, and I'm still listening to the elders. I'm still listening to within the Ocheti Shakoni. You would probably know them as the Great Sioux Nation, but we call ourselves the Ocheti Shakoni. I'm in one of those major bandings, those major divisions. I'm in the Dakota people, and underneath that is a sub banding called the Sisitawa Wachpetua Dakota Oyate. For those of you out there that speak the language, if I said it poorly, I'm still teaching myself. Have grace, have mercy with me, pity me. But I'm learning. I'm trying to teach myself. But I was gonna go somewhere with that, and I totally spaced. If it comes back, it's supposed to come back. That's another thing you're gonna get on this channel is a lot of. It is what it is. What you see is what you get. I'm not gonna, you might hear some highly academic words because I am a reader. I tend to read a lot. I listen to a lot of lectures, podcasts, and I read position papers. I don't like talking like that though, but sometimes a word gets in there, or whatever. So you're going to hear a lot of language. It's going to be really grabbing and going after a lot of subjects. In fact, one of the new friend I was mentioning earlier that really kind of fanned the flame of me putting something out there in this YouTube live was. He was saying, yeah, one of the things that last time we talked, there was so much. I really wish I would have recorded. His name's Ken. He's like, I really wish I would have recorded it. We covered so much, and one thing that I learned. So my mother moved us here in the mid '80s to this town here, and I became an urban Indian really fast. When we moved off the tribal college, the technical college campus, and we moved into town, I learned real fast how to talk fast. I learned how to talk white, and people would be like, "What? Why are you?" Hey, man, just we gotta laugh at one another. I'm very intentional about that, and so you're gonna hear things that are, send me a message. I don't direct message me, and we'll go from there. But you're gonna hear some things like that. So you're gonna hear me go back and forth. You're gonna hear me talk very structured, and then you're gonna hear me talk very, kind of. It's gonna seem cryptic. And I'm leaving things out there. I use language, in every way possible, every way possible that I've learned up to this point. And so my good friend Ken, and I say good friend because we've already covered some hard subjects, and I think that there's a good friendship there. But he had said, back to what he said, I really wish I would have listened to, I would have recorded because you covered so many topics. I'm like, well, you're going to have to get used to that. I think that my writing is probably going to be that way because he's going to help me write. I'm thinking about writing an ebook that is going to help every circle of influence that I'm connected to. I think that some of those old ways of my people and the elders are currently journeying on earth, I think that they're for today. And if we learn them, man, maybe we can stave off war. Maybe we can stave off chaos. Because right now it's not looking too good. And so that's why I feel like getting another, and there, because there are other native voices out there, and who knows, maybe we'll be doing a Zoom, and we'll, who knows what a year will bring. So I'm trying to get this thing up and running again, trying to do things that will, I just want to make sure that I have my screens taken care of here, that I'm putting out there what I'm supposed to put out. I'm a part of a few communities, and two of them are very dear to me: the middle school, high school, and college age group. That group has told me, especially natives, they'll say to me, you have a YouTube channel, Bobby? I do. You should put some more stuff on there. I'm like what? That you have that Uncle Bobby playlist. Put stuff on there. That's just one group. That's just one group, and there are different meetings and different groups that I go to, but there's a consistent theme in there. And then within the recovery community, I do a lot of lectures on incense and smudging, but as of late, I've been doing a lot of spirituality lectures within the recovery community, and that touches everyone. Um, every ethnicity addiction touches, and they say it too. Can I find you online somewhere? I'm like, well, I'm thinking about firing up my YouTube channel again and putting some things in there. I have a playlist called Recovery and such, and I have another one called Savage Theology, and where I talk about relationship with Creator and what I've learned from the my time in the Roman Catholic. And they're like really wide eyed, and you should put more content on there. So that's, to me, that's confirmation. And then Kent said the same thing. Was just kind of fan the flame within me that I need to start putting things out there. It is what it is. Not everybody. This isn't going to be everybody's cup of tea. There are going to be people out there that are going to be like, man, this guy talks with his hands too much, and he's very demonstrative in his face. I don't know if I like that. His forehead is extra shiny. I don't know. I like that, and then he's just really vague, and I need more structure. This isn't for everyone. That's fine. Keep stepping. We're going to respect you as you take off. We're going to respect you as you stay here, for those that stay. That is one thing that I tell people when I'm delivering, and this is going to kind of maybe segue into what I'm trying to get at, what Ken shared and what Dakota has shared, what these young people are sharing, what these folks that are struggling with addiction, what they're all sharing is that, got to get these things out there. These conversations need to happen, and so here we are in this I put up the graphic. I'm gonna put it up there again, just so you. Savage Theology. This is basically that painting in the background is a screen clipping of a public image. That public image is just talking about manifest destiny. I bet you, and I think, in fact, I bet you if you type that in there, and I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna open up. Let's see here. Let me open up a YouTube, not a YouTube, a Google search. I want to make sure that it's actually putting stuff on the screen too. So let me just type in manifest. Yeah, I believe it is called Manifest Destiny Painting. So for some reason, it's not putting up my other screen. Let me see if I can edit that on the fly. I'm gonna try. Please be patient with me. Yes, there it goes. All right. So hopefully I can. This website. Yes, there it is. So as you can see, the portion of the. I hope you can see it in bigger. This is what I zoomed in on. And the one author was talking about this. The one thought influencer was talking about. Look at as progress moves to the west and moves towards to the west coast. Everything that is not a part of progress. It's dark in this area. Notice how the creation has to move. All these and wagon trains in the back and all these all these things that need to move out of the way of progress have got to move out of the way of progress. And so that's where I got the image from. I asked a gentleman to create this. I haven't talked to him for quite some time, but I'm hoping that I can even make this even better. So if you want to help with that, or maybe I have to trudge through and learn it all myself, that's what I'm going to do. But that is what that bigger version is. It's just a screen clipping. Sorry, it's just a screen clipping. So you can see it goes down to the corner. And so what I'm going to talk about on this podcast or on this vlog is is things that pertain to that. What is the tribal thought? What is my tribe's thought when it comes to relationship with the Creator? I borrowed a book out, or else I would put it up. I borrowed a book out to a friend that was writing I think mental health. He's going to school for psychology. He wants to be a counselor, and I borrowed him several books out of my personal library. And one of my favorite authors is Dr. Charles Eastman, and so I borrowed him this 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 book. But within the book, I believe it is either in Indian Boyhood or The Soul of the Indian. Dr. Eastman talks about one's relationship. This is Dakota way. A Dakota's relationship with the Creator was so sacred, was so waka, that it was disrespectful for another Dakota to look down upon it. That, when I read that immediately, because I spent 18 years in the Charismatic Pentecostal Church, more evangelical and leaning, that reminded me of because I read the Bible in that time. It was one of the things that was expected. You read the Bible every day. You prayed for a certain amount of time every day, which I didn't. I was just like, holy cow, this is like really consuming a lot of time. I don't know if I can do this. So I was a bad Christian. But make no mistake, I had faith. I have faith. I had faith, and I have faith. But it reminded me of Itacha Paul. You would know that word right there means headman. Itacha. That word in the Bible, and what he's been called is the Apostle Paul. He says in Romans that one man sees one day as holy and another man sees all days as holy. These two should not look down upon one another. And I'm like, there it is. Now I've heard the Dakota equivalent of that it is disrespectful for another human being or another Dakota to look down upon. I'm like, wow. And just comparing the two. Well, that's what I'd like to do on this vlog, on this live, in this channel, in this podcast, is I'd like to do that with other tribes too, and be uncomfortable and talk about hard things. There are very few Native theologians. It hurts my heart. They're slowly upticking, but we still filter things through. Because I don't have a lot of examples or a lot of vocabulary, I just have to say white. We filter them through white authors. I'm looking over at my bookshelf, the Book of Concord, Wayne Grudem, Systematic Theology, Reformed Systematic Theology, True to Our Native Land. It's a commentary by ethnic minorities, Vatican Council, the Catholic Catechism, or the Catechism of the Catholic Church. I'm looking at Orthodox Catechism, and on and on and on. And I've been listening to a few rabbis, one more so than others, but very few Native voices out there. Like I said, there's a body of individuals coming, but I think that because the work wasn't done in the past, when we were being indoctrinated as and when we were being taught what it means to follow, it just came through a lot of non-Native, or specifically, and for the most part, white thought. So whatever tribe, nation, or tongue, it tended to be, that's what we got. And so it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to have those conversations. Can I hold my own? I think about who's going to be back here, who's going to be in those chairs, and we have a camera on us, and I think now is the time. I think I've been positioned to have those discussions, and I can really think through it. You're gonna see uncomfortableness on my part. There might be some pauses. It's not gonna be. It's gonna be totally outside of what the content creators on YouTube and everywhere else has given us to be better content creators on YouTube and on Twitch and whatever streaming platform or podcast, or it's gonna be weird that way. because people will say, you talk, you could do this better, you could do this better. But every time I talk to people, they're like, you write like you talk, and it's refreshing. And so I feel like if I truly come to a space, then it should be that way, and that's why um, it's going to you're gonna see me grow. For those of you that knew me 15 years ago, you've seen this, you've experienced this, you've told me as much. So we're going to talk about did all tribes were they all monotheistic? Because a lot of times people will just look at native ways, and they'll just chalk it up to being animistic, and looking at, oh, you guys believe that every you know uh, created thing had a spirit to it. But then when I read Elacar Deloria's, and the reason why that's significant, Elacar Deloria wrote in Water Lily, and more to the point, what I'm getting at, the book Speaking of Indians, she highlights in there that people didn't understand that when a native looked at something, when a Dakota person, she's speaking from a Dakota point of view, when a Dakota looked at something, they knew that it had order, and therefore, because it had order, it came from the Creator. And right away, people, and she says it in there. She says it a lot better than me. Both these writers, Dr. Charles Eastman, Charles Alexander Eastman, and Ella Cara Deloria, look them up. I'm telling you, it's fascinating. As the West pushed through, or as the frontier pushed through the West, these two individuals learned. They did what I wish that most academics and missionaries would do, and they would learn. They would go learn from the people and be uncomfortable. You know, respect the elders that are currently on earth, and it just bothers me at the level of disrespect that is on planet Earth right now. And so she says this, and the reason why that's significant, that when a native, an ancestor, looked at a tree and said that had a spirit, she was saying it had order. And the academics will pile in right away. No, that's not what she meant. No, she wouldn't. And I grew up and I was told by this. Look, not every tribe or family had that's why respect was there. We needed that respect, because we would go around. We have to unlearn it. In fact, we have to unlearn it, because right now we have a lot of big Indians, big Christians, big Catholics, big Orthodox. You put it in there. Big AAs. I've been in this for so long. I remember one gentleman telling me one time, to this point, I've been doing Native ministry for 25 years, so you need to listen to me. And I was like, I've been a Native for 40. And I'm still being taught. I can't remember how old I was. Just because you've been serving in Native communities this way that you've been taught doesn't mean that you automatically know all of us. You don't know. It turned me off, but it was an aha moment for me. It was something that I needed to consider, and I have. That it doesn't matter how many of these books over here that I've read, because there's some that I have dog-eared, I have bookmarked. I have I have these cool little bookmarks that's called Last Line. I'll show you. They go, see that they go right to. You can just get right on the sentence or whatever, but they're right there. I was taught that you don't go read other religions, but I think that that's disrespectful. People will be like, "Why are you reading that?" Because I want to know, instead of sitting back and listening to what other theologians, scholars, and commentators and religious leaders are going to tell me what they believe this, and they believe. You know what? I have to think for myself. I have to, and I think that if we all go out there and do that, and go sit down with some of these people groups and respect them, I think that'll go a lot farther than where we're at right now. We're talking past one another. We're being disrespectful to one another. And you know what? It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. Okay, the frontier is pushed all the way through. It's now it is what it is. We have to sit down. We have to talk. So yes, there are some things that even I'm going to have to get uncomfortable with. You know, when I think about this graphic, and I think about things like, you know, this painting. Um, I think in some ways in a spiritual realm, this is still happening. And what I mean by that is, um, we have individuals still coming to the reservation, you know, and I heard this, and I call them creepy white church fans. I want to say I heard it from a couple of friends first, um, but we can set our watches by when when a certain denomination is on the reservation, just by the rental cars. And the, you know, if it's the creepy white church vans, you know, it's probably, you know, a rental van or whatever. But if they look like an older, you know, an older Ford E something or another, they drove that up from another state or whatever. You know, give us your children and we'll be on our way. I think it's still happening, and you know, I see some other folks, you know, being able to really put it out there in an academic way. And man, I can't wait for natives to just continue to go into these other circles of influence, these other contexts, and to do something like this and add native thought. You know, I think that there needs to be more natives in you know, the government, in the judicial system, in the executive, in the, you know, in legislatures. And yeah, we need to be all over, you know. And right now we could be a medicine, and that's what I want to do in this thing, is talk about certain, you know, like I think about systematic theology, and so in some ways there's some relation to like ceremonies. I think about, like, let me grab this, of course, written by somebody, capturing, let me pull open my camera so you can see it better, The Sacred Pipe by Joseph Epps Brown, right there at the bottom, you can see. But that's why I got to read the native authors. And Dr. Charles Eastman, Elakar Deloria, those are some great authors right now. They're native authors. Tommy Orange, mentioned him in the beginning. I have one up there too. I just can't see it offhand. Darn it! But there are many other, and I'm glad that they're going into those places. Um, Bringing other folks into the discussion that are really caught up in their congregational denominational leading. Yes, they will be a part of these discussions too, because there are individuals that will be very, very, they've dug their heels in. You know, Bobby, this is how I lean. This is where I got my. This is where I got my. You know, I was baptized, and you know, I was. Faith was planted in me there, and they're going to be very passionate. We're going to have discussions. There's some people out there that are going to disagree. They're going to disagree with how I see things when it comes to incense and smudging, or when it comes to incense and its close relative, smudging. Both of them are symbolic of prayer, but yet native smudging is dismissed as evil. You know, even when I talk, I go to the White Man Sweat Lodge at the YMCA, which is just a steam sauna, a steam shower. It's categorized as steam shower, but it's locally it's called a sauna. But when I go in there, I tease, and it's fishing. It's fishing in a way. I'll say the guys will come in and they know they're just like, how many sessions? The guys that are brave enough to talk to me, they'll ask, how many sessions? You know, every guy that has asked me, how many times you go in there, and I do it. You know, I just know that there's a certain structure that's done within Inipi, within the Sweat Lodge ceremony, among my tribe, and I try to incorporate some of those elements. You know, so I go in there a certain amount of time. There's some days I don't get in there for all of that. And I try to make sure that it's a certain amount of like linear time. Dr. Rhonda Patrick with Found My Fitness. Let me see. I want to give her proper recognition. Let's see. Okay. I think she's got a like YouTube links and stuff like that. So, um, but she talks about like yeah, about let's see. All right, so Dr. Rhonda Patrick talks has a lot of clinical things out there, and this is relevant to Savage Theology. Talking about for heat exposure and heat shock therapy, cold shock therapy, you need a certain amount of time. So I try not to make it so linear when I'm in the steam sauna, and I'm trying to get my hands on a traditional Finnish sauna. But here's where I'm going with that is that if I can't make off, let's just say I have 4 10-minute rounds, and I'm just throwing an example out there. I did 10-minute rounds in a steam sauna. I always try to make sure that it hits or gets close to her point. By all means, look this gal up, and hopefully I'll get better at putting links on my stuff too, and it's trial and error. But she talks about like the sweet spot is I think 36 minutes or something like that, up to 60 minutes. And so I always try to think, okay, I gotta plan my day so I can get in the workout and steam shower for this amount of time. And then what it looks like is, I'm in there and I'm praying. Some guys go in there and they meditate. I'm in there praying. But I'm not a jerk. So if somebody wants to talk to me, I talk to them, even though I don't understand. The steam is just continual, and they'll want to talk. But it's given me a lot. It's given me big, big respect for the medicine men and the holy men that do Inipi, because they're singing through that time. So when they start singing the songs, I think they're called calling songs, just inviting the God's spirit and what I understand as angels to this place of prayer. So they're doing that, and they're singing when that steam is going on, and I'm thinking, wow, they are living. Just I have respect for them. So when I'm in the steam sauna and I'm praying in that moment, I can't tell you how many times after I'm done and I'm out in I'm outside and I am recovering, taking in water and all that, because I can't, it's always going. So I have to put those pauses in there, and so I'll go out to like a little area where the hot tub's at, and I'll just sit there and I'll rest. I have my eyes closed. Sometimes I'm done resting and just sitting there thinking and all, and that's when the questions come. How long do you go in there? What do you do? And what do I noticed that you were doing this, and so I go through the door and I talk to them, and I'll say, yeah, sometimes I'm in there praying. I'll do a minimum of this and that. But guys that are tremendously interested in this, and they're talking about, really, a traditional Finnish sauna doesn't get as hot as what that steam sauna is. And I'm telling you what, I think that is a good segue to get to this point about savage theology, is that I truly believe that the tribes of North America could offer their ways of life and how and their relationship to the Creator, and I think that people's faith would grow. I'm telling you what, man. Being among I was just telling my wife we were at a wedding this past weekend, and we saw the Catholics' way of doing a wedding, and we're like, oh, they're interesting. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. Didn't do that. But the one thing that I remember thinking, I'm like, looked over at her. I said, you got to hand it to the Catholics. They do in some ways have a way of like making the service or that time that liturgy have a feeling or a sense of wonder and awe. The Orthodox are if not way better. When I walk into an Orthodox divine liturgy, And I see this. I see the incense smoke. I can smell it. I can see the prayers. I can smell the prayers. I can go in. There are candles. There are these icons, and I know that some of my evangelical relatives are probably going to send me some stuff, whatever, which is fine. I will respond as needed. Um, but when I when I'm in a evangelical service, it's just got its own images too. It's got its own smoke and dimmed lights and lights that do things on the stage, and they got their graphics up there. Yeah. And here we are being disrespectful to one another. The Catholics are judging and dismissing. The Lutherans are judging and dismissing this person, and it goes on and on. This biting and devouring that happens. Um, but yeah, I think with all that being said, all of this stuff, I'd love to just be able to talk about and do it in the environment and in the space of friendship and mutual respect. To have other individuals come up and come here, and or we go on location somewhere and we talk about these hard things. I think they can be nothing but fruitful, because it's going to challenge all parties present. So yeah, I don't know how long these stay. That's one thing that I need to look on YouTube and see how long these YouTube lives, how long they stay in the catalog or whatever. They stay as a part of the library or whatever. But I got to start recording videos also. I want to put out channels where people can get short 10-minute, and I'm gonna have to get better at summing it up. And I will. This is just the first step, and I'm excited that I got back to it. I'll be putting stuff in my playlist for the recovery and such, and talking about like why we took into battle certain things, like little shields, why we painted things on our bodies, why we, what meanings are, and the unseen battle that's happening. Just so many places that we can go to, but I feel like if we offer one another the medicine that was given to us, the way of life that's been given to us, it reminds me of that buddy that movie Arrival, um, about the 12 alien ships that land all over the world. I think it has. Let me see. Let me get the actors. Let's see. Arrival movie. Amy Adams. Yeah, Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, Forrest Whitaker. But it's about these aliens that land, and they're heptapods, and they leave a language, and their languages, get this, it's not linear. It's their language is outside time, and it's just a fascinating thing. The one thing, and it's different from the original Ted Chen, because it's based off a Ted Chen story in the stories of us. I can't remember. You know what? I want to give him props. That's one thing that I want to make sure that I'm always doing is I'm giving authors their props for what they've done. So the movie Arrival is based off a Ted Chiang um, story that's within stories of your life and others. So, but yeah, they get to this point in the movie, and I felt like they really did a good job. I liked it. I enjoy movies. I enjoy storytelling. I liked when Amy Adams basically has this aha moment that they're one of 12. Her and a mathematician. They figured this out. They're one of 12. That uh, their one location in Montana is part of a bigger puzzle, and that when all 12 of these locations all over the world come together, they'll be able to move forward. And I feel like that's where we're at right now. Is we need places and we need people groups to come together right now. Come to the edges, like NPR. They had the Edge Effect on their what was the the show NPR with I think it was Shankar Vedanta, the Edge Effect. Yeah, it was on NPR, and yeah, type that in, the Edge Effect. But they were talking about how creativity is actually on the edges and on the margins, and so that's what we really need to do right now. I believe that even the Dakota people, we need to come to the edges. We need to quit sitting back, and we're all we're all right now very cautious and suspicious of one another. It reminds me of the movie, or of the documentary, The Social Dilemma, where the one of the folks that is being interviewed said that we're in a bad place right now. When we look at one another with suspicion, it's just a bad place. It's a recipe for bad things to happen. And so the thing to do right now, I believe, is like Arrival. What we need to come together and we need to share information. um, Retreating back into our silos is just not the way to move forward. This is going to require bravery and a courageous heart, and that's what I think, that at the end of the day, what was given to the the council and or the ceremony that they held along the banks of the Cannonball back in 2016, and they held different faith traditions there, different tribes there, different, you name it. There, but there were leaders in there. They held council and they came out there with three things: peaceful, prayerful, and courage. And the more I thought about that, the more I thought, it is going to take courage. It is going to take courage, but that's just not for us natives. That's a message that all of us can say. It's going to take courage for all of us to come to the edges and the center, come out of our circles of influence, come out of our silos, undig our heels, if you will, and just be brave and go into places that we don't understand. Rather than sit back and prejudge people, we should be going in and being in the world and just be ourselves. My favorite, one of my favorite books is called The Stages of Faith by James W. Fowler, and he says that absoluteness is a quality of the transcendent that comes to expression in revelation, but not necessarily of symbols, myths, uh, propositions, or doctrines formulated to represent or communicate it. The most precious thing, this is where, oh man, I love this. The most precious thing we have to offer each other in our interfaith encounters is our honest, unexaggerated, and non-possessive sharing of what we take to be the moments of absoluteness in the particular faith traditions to which we live as committed participants. James W. Fowler, Stages of Faith. Yeah, I think that can be applied outside of faith too. I think that we should be dialoguing. If we say we have a relationship with the Creator in whatever faith tradition, Jews, um, Christians, whatever flavor of Christianity, indigenous people in Canada, in the United States and South America, wherever, indigenous people from all around the world. The reality is we're all indigenous. We just, for some, we've forgotten where we've come from. We've forgotten our teachings. We've forgotten our way of life, and we need to come. We need to come to the center. We need to come to the edges, and this is going to require bravery. So, I think that's where we're at. That's the medicine that I have in all of my learning and my journeying 48 winters here, and I'm not done learning. I still have a pile. I have a to read pile that is like to read books, like this big in one stack and then this big in another stack. I'm slowly eating that elephant. I've taken, like I said, I've taken a lot of TED Talks, taken a lot of lectures, time on YouTube. I go and listen to people that speak in the community here. I listen to sermons from different people groups. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to pick up the preciousness from them. I love it. The most precious thing we have to offer each other in interfaith encounters is our honest, unexaggerated, non possessive sharing of what we take to be the moments of absoluteness in the particular faith tradition which we live as committed participants. That is beautiful. And it's going to require courage, and I pray that you have and that I have it. So I hope that this channel will offer that. I hope that, I pray that I'm given the tools to do it, that the Creator will continue to fan into flame and touch my mind and my heart and my soul to help me do this effectively and to do it well. That's really what I think savage theology is. I think of like people that right away dismissed us as this country got its start, dismissed my mother's people. And here's what's crazy is that I'm not going to just totally focus on and make it the most important, because in doing that, that's not even Dakota way either. We have this thing that we say at the end of prayers. We say Midakuye Wasi, all my relatives, all my relations. So when we walk around thinking that we're the most important person in the room, we are not living out the values and traditions of the Creator. And so I gotta live in a different way. I gotta live in a respectful way. But yeah, this has been good. I think that as I move along, I'm gonna get more comfortable with presenting just the way I present. In fact, I remember during a sermon, whenever I would deliver sermons, I used to serve as a staff pastor at a local church here, and within a denomination, and I had a couple of individuals that would always approach me. Not kidding, they would say, "I love when you take the music stand with all your notes and you put it to the side." And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, but for me, it's uncomfortable. I was trained to have a certain setup, but I couldn't betray I couldn't betray my conscience, and I couldn't betray the Spirit that was speaking in me, saying, "You don't need this," and I'd be like, "Oh my goodness." If the people that trained me were right here, they'd be like, "What are you doing? You need to." And not only that, when I present among middle school, high school, and college age students, and among those that are in the recovery, they're trying to get sober. They all prefer that way of speaking, and so it's going to be weird. People aren't going to like it, but I'm going to be me. I'm going to be me, and hopefully people will see the light within me, and they will realize that it's not really mine. That's what I love about Scripture. It's in Hebrews that He has placed this treasure in jars of clay for us to understand that this surpassing power is not ours. Like, this thing that comes from me is not mine. Well, you have no choice. No, I do. But I have a choice. Like right now, I chose to come on here and to do this live on YouTube here and share the way I shared. These things just came to me. I didn't know what I was going to share, but I felt like I had to go live, so I'm doing that. I'm not going to sit at the end of the day and be like, "Man, I really should have went live." No. I'm going to listen to my spirit. I believe I'm connected to the Creator too, because of, what He did, what He began in my life. And so that's what I'm going to do. And it's going to be hard, but it's okay. If I learned anything up to this point in 48 winters of journeying on this planet, is that I have got to quit. I've got to quit thinking. I've got to be so. I've got to quit this self-shaming. My granddaughter told me one time, we were playing recently in the pool. We have an above ground pool, and she asked me. We were playing a game, and she asked me something. I said, "Oh, sweetie, I can't do that. I'm too fat." And she said, "You're not fat." She got mad at me. I mean, "You're not fat." She's a little bit ways over. "You're not fat." She gets in my face, and I'm like, I said, "Well, yeah. Look, sweetie, look, I got a belly." And she was like, If you're fat, I'm fat. I'm like, oh, whoa, time out. No, 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 no. It was a teachable moment. She taught me that. And that's what I'm bringing to this place. That, you know what? And I told her that. I said, you know, sweetie, you're right. Papa shouldn't put himself down like that. He shouldn't say mean things about himself. I said, you're so smart. Thank you for reminding Papa. Thank you for telling me. And she actually got this little smile on her face, like, yeah, I'm pretty smart girl. But it's true. I mean, dogging on myself, this self asceticism, this beating myself up, that's what asceticism is, beating myself up, this distorted discipline, if you will, you know, and I got to quit that. It's not helping anyone. Sure as heck not helping me. And so I'm going to not do that anymore. And it is what it is. If the people that want to be around me will be around me. The people who want to listen to me will want to listen to me. And I'm fine with that. It's crazy. It took 48 years to get to that point, but there was I think the part of me that has always been that way, because some people would probably say, well, no, you've been that way, but then there will be others be like, no, you were holding back, and you know who you are. I don't know if you ever watch this, but if you ever do, you know who you are. You were one of the people that spoke to me and tried to fan that in the flame. We need to sometimes, I'm going to quote one of them. Sometimes we need to hear your growl more. You know, I'm like, what? I thought I casted expectations really well in this work group. No, you held back. You could have gotten our face more. Really? Okay. Then ask a colleague that was served as a what would you call it, like another person on a director's staff. You know, we reported to this director, and this individual told me, you know, we could have saw Bad Bobby more. I'm like, what? That's two of you now. So nowadays, it is what it is. If people want to just get mad at me about the bad things I say, bad things, and they're not really that bad. They're actually just, this is how I see it. That's not going to work. In my opinion, that's not going to work because you didn't climb on my thing. How does that apply to savage theology? I think that there are some things that people don't agree with me about when it comes to, they're not going to agree with my relatives. They're not going to agree with native thought on some things, but it is what it is. You know, my grandmother was a Catholic, but she was also a traditional. People would be like, but she was confused. No, she wasn't. I've never seen a bigger funeral procession than hers. And the reason why I say that is because in both of those communities, she was loved, she was respected. So she is my first example that it is possible to follow after this man Jesus, who claimed to be the creator. In fact, my ancestors believed it. I've one of my books up there, and I'm gonna have to pull it down and bookmark it so I can reference it moving forward. But it talks about that when we heard the story of Jesus, we wanted to hear more of that. We wanted to hear that. We didn't want to hear some of this other stuff they were talking. We wanted to hear more stories about him. But one of those ancestors said, we said that was our creator, and I'm like, wow, it's gonna be tough, but I think that that's what needs to happen right now. That's what the message that was given to us there on the banks of the Cannonball River in North Dakota, to that group, and I say us because they listened and they gave it to the rest of us. I think that it's a message for the world that we need to be courageous, peaceful, prayerful, and with courage. Man, peaceful. How do you get peace? Prayerful. Man, if we all did more of that. And courageous. That's what I'd like to do in this. I think in this whole channel, not just this. So I hope to put more videos out there. I got all the tools. I think I only need one or two, and I'm ready to go. And so if this is what you want, you are welcome to join me. If not, I respect your staying as long as you have. And, Oh, bro, you only had one viewer on that. I don't I don't care. I'm just putting it out there. So when I stand before the Creator, um, I say, I took your light and that gift that you gave me, that treasure that you gave me. Oh man, why is this bothering me so much? I took the treasure that you gave me. I put it out there in every circle that you connected me to. I put it out there. I tried to be a good relative with my wife and with you and with my wife and with my children and with my grandchildren. I tried the best I could. I made some mistakes, but I tried. And if all of us would do that, I think that the world could be turned upside down in a good way. So I thank you for you who will watch in the future or who will watch later on. I don't know. Like I said, I'll continue to put stuff out there. I'm gonna get better at editing. I put one out there. I didn't really throw any editing on it. I got another one in the hopper. I got to record a couple of videos. I think I'm gonna batch them. Maybe put 3 out there in a couple of the places that I like speaking on, and go from there. So again, Savage Theology. Sure hope that when as we move forward, we'll continue to learn and grow with one another, and we'll see where this goes. I think that we we have a lot to learn from one another, and creation and the Creator, more so the Creator, is waiting for the brave ones to come out and to do this and to live this way. And so let's do it together. And I'll do my due diligence, and we'll go from there. So I thank you for watching, and say to you, Dokshta. Okay, we say Dokshta, shorten it up. But see you later. There's no word for goodbye in Dakota. So blessings on you. Talk to you later.